Amara Jackson, a quiet 15-year-old black girl with deep brown eyes and soft, tightly coiled hair, sat in the third row of room 204, the kind of seat where students hide without being noticed. She wore the same faded school uniform she had worn last year, because her mother couldn't afford a new one, and her backpack had a tear that she stitched up herself. It was another Monday morning, and the atmosphere in class buzzed with students chatting, laughing and exchanging weekend stories. But Amara sat alone, her notebook open, her pencil poised, ready to learn. She loved school, even if school didn't always love her. At 8:05 a.m. sharp, the classroom door swung open, and in walked Mrs. Harding, the strictest teacher in the school. Tall, stern, with sharp glasses that made her eyes look even colder than they were. Students who had been talking instantly fell silent. Mrs. Harding hated lateness. She hated noise. And most of all, she hated students she believed were lazy or unprepared. Unfortunately, she had already decided Amara was one of them. Even though Amara never caused trouble, never argued, never talked back, Mrs. Harding saw her through the lens of bias she never admitted. When the bell rang, Mrs. Harding snapped, "Books out, everyone!" "Let's begin." As students scrambled, Amara opened her old textbook. Its cover was peeling, its pages yellowed. It was second-hand, donated by the church near her home. She handled it carefully, as if it were made of gold. But Mrs. Harding noticed. She walked down the aisle, heels clicking sharply. Without warning, she snatched the book out of Amara's hands. "What is this?" she sneered, lifting it up like something filthy. "This book looks like it came from a dumpster." The class erupted in muffled giggles. Amara's heart tightened painfully. Mrs. Harding continued, "Oh wait, I forgot. You probably can't afford a proper book, can you?" The laughter grew louder. Amara's cheeks burned. She lowered her head, wishing she could disappear. "What's wrong?" The teacher teased with false sweetness. "Did I hurt your feelings? Maybe you should focus more on your studies instead of bringing trash into my classroom." Amara's throat closed. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't speak. She couldn't lift her head. A boy in the back whispered loudly, "Poor girl can't even buy a book." Another student snickered. Maybe she found it on the streets. Every word felt like a stab. Mrs. Harding placed the book on her desk with disgust. "Since you don't have a decent textbook, you can sit quietly today and not disturb the class." She turned away, but the damage was done. Amara blinked back tears, her vision blurring. She looked at her hands, trembling, tightening, trying to stay composed. Inside, her heart screamed, "Why me? What have I done?" But the humiliation didn't stop there. Later in the lesson, Mrs. Harding asked students to solve a math question. Amara, still trying to recover from the earlier insult, slowly raised her hand to answer. She actually knew the solution. Before she could speak, Mrs. Harding cut her off sharply. "No, not you. I need someone who can actually read." The entire class gasped collectively before bursting into loud laughter. It felt like the world had shattered. Amara dropped her hand immediately. Tears fell onto her notebook. She didn't even bother wiping them. Mrs. Harding walked across the classroom with a cold smile and whispered cruelly, "People like you need to stay in your place." Those words didn't feel like just an insult. They felt like a punch, a dismissal, a verdict. But what Mrs. Harding did not know was that someone was watching. Someone who would change everything. Someone who saw the truth. And by the time the school day ended, a storm was already forming, silent, unseen, unstoppable. The next day, the teacher who insulted, Amara would walk into class expecting another normal morning. She had no idea the entire school, with teachers, students, even the principal, would be waiting for her. And what happened next would shake the entire district. That evening, Amara walked home slowly, her footsteps heavy, her chest tight. She didn't cry at school, not loudly, but as soon as she reached her room, the tears she had been holding back all day came pouring out. She collapsed onto her bed, hugging her pillow tightly, as the words repeated in her mind like poison. "People like you need to stay in your place." Why? Why did people always think she belonged somewhere lower? She covered her face with both hands, her small shoulders shaking with silent sobs. She wanted to disappear. She wanted to never enter that classroom again. But fate had something else planned. something that would flip the entire situation upside down. While Amara was crying quietly in her room, someone else was re-watching the incident over and over again. It was Isaiah, a quiet boy who sat at the back of the classroom. A boy no one paid attention to, a boy who had secretly recorded everything, every insult, every cruel word, every laugh, every tear, not to embarrass Amara, not to go viral, but because he knew no one would believe her without proof. He had seen teachers cover up things. He had seen students suffer in silence. He had seen adults protect adults, not children. So he made a choice. He uploaded the video anonymously to the school's online parent group titled, "This happened today in room 204. This is not okay." Within minutes, the video exploded. Parents commented furiously. Teachers were stunned. Students shared it privately. Some were crying. Some were outraged. The video spread like wildfire, across the school, across the district, even reaching the superintendent's inbox. For the first time in a long time, the truth had a voice. Meanwhile, Amara had no idea any of this was happening. She sat at her desk late that night, staring at her second-hand textbook, the one Mrs. Harding had humiliated her for. She opened it slowly and ran her fingers over the torn edges. "My book isn't trash," she whispered. "I'm not trash." For the first time that day, she lifted her head. The next morning, when Amara stepped onto the school campus, something felt different. Students weren't talking loudly. The usual morning chaos was replaced by a strange, tense quiet. Whispers floated around her like murmurs of a coming storm. "That's her. Did you see the video? Oh my God, the teacher is in trouble. Poor girl." "No, she's brave, bro." Amara's heart pounded. "What video? What are they talking about?" When she walked into the hallway, it felt like everything stopped. People turned to look at her, not with mockery this time, but with something she didn't recognize: sympathy, respect, shame. Even students who never spoke to her stepped aside to give her space. She reached her classroom door, room 204. But before she could step inside, Principal Morgan appeared. "Amara," she said gently, "come with me, please." The whole hallway watched as Amara followed her down the corridor. Inside the principal's office were 3 people: her mother, the school counselor, Mr. Ray, and someone Amara didn't recognize, the district superintendent. Amara froze. Her mother rushed to hug her tightly. "Baby, are you okay? Why didn't you tell me?" Amara's eyes widened. "What's going on?" Principal Morgan turned her laptop around. On the screen was the video. The entire video. Every insult, every laugh, every cruel word spoken by Mrs. Harding. Amara covered her mouth with shaking hands. Who filmed this?" "We don't know," the superintendent said, "but they did the right thing." Mr. Ray added softly, "Amara, this should never have happened to you." Tears welled up in her mother's eyes. How could a teacher speak to a child like this? "My daughter." "Any child." Then Principal Morgan took a deep breath. "Mrs. Harding has been removed from her classroom permanently, and investigation is officially underway." Amara's jaw dropped open. "Mrs. Harding removed? A teacher who had power for years? Gone?" Her mother squeezed her hand. "You didn't deserve any of that." "None of it." For the first time, Amara felt something warm spreading in her chest. Relief, mixed with disbelief. The superintendent leaned forward. "Amara, what you endured was abuse of authority. You showed more grace and strength in that moment than many adults ever could." She looked down, trembling. "But I felt so weak." Mr. Ray shook his head. "No, you were brave simply by surviving it." Her mother kissed her forehead. "And now everyone sees the truth." But the biggest shock was yet to come. As Amara left the office with her mother, the hallway outside was packed. Students, teachers, staff, all standing silently waiting. And when they saw her, they stepped aside and clapped. A slow, powerful, rising applause. Not pity, not shame, respect. For the girl who had been insulted, for the girl who endured humiliation, for the girl who now stood stronger than ever. But tomorrow, the moment everyone would witness, would be even bigger than this. Because Mrs. Harding would return to school to face something she never expected. A school united against her. The next morning, the entire school felt tense, like everyone was waiting for something huge to happen. Teachers whispered in the hallways, students huddled in groups, staff members walked around with clipped, urgent steps, but no one was more nervous than Mrs. Harding. She had been ordered to come to the school for an internal hearing. She thought it would be behind closed doors, a simple meeting where she would explain herself and go back to teaching. She had no idea what was waiting. Amara arrived at school with her mother by her side. Her backpack was slung over her shoulder, her steps slow but steady. Every student she passed looked at her, not with judgment but with quiet support. Some nodded. Some smiled gently. Some whispered, "Stay strong." For a girl who had spent years feeling invisible, it felt unreal. As they reached the main hallway, a loud voice announced over the intercom, "All students and staff, please gather in the auditorium immediately." Every head turned. Every conversation stopped. This had never happened before. There the auditorium was full, for it was silent. When Amara walked into the school auditorium with her mother, the sight stunned her. Every single student, every teacher, every staff member, even the janitors, were seated waiting. The room buzzed with tension as Principal Morgan stepped onto the stage. A few moments later, Mrs. Harding entered. The room stiffened. Whispers broke out. Some students glared. Others looked away. Mrs. Harding's face was pale, her hands trembling slightly. She didn't look like the powerful, intimidating woman from yesterday. She looked shaken. Principal Morgan raised her hand for silence. "Students, today we address something very important," she said firmly. Something that should never happen inside a school. The lights dimmed, and the giant screen lit up. The video began to play. The same video that had gone viral among parents and staff. The same video Isaiah had recorded quietly from the back row. Mrs. Harding's voice echoed through the auditorium. "This book looks like it came from a dumpster. You probably can't afford a proper book. People like you need to stay in your place." Every cruel word, every insult, every moment of humiliation. Amara stared at the screen, her hands shaking. She could hear students around her reacting. "What the hell?" She said that to her? "This is messed up." No teacher should talk like that. Even teachers looked horrified. When the video ended, you could hear a pin drop. Mrs. Harding looked like her world was collapsing. She opened her mouth to speak, but Principal Morgan raised a hand. "No, not yet." She turned toward the students. "I want you all to understand one thing. The power adults have over young people is enormous. It only takes a few words to destroy confidence, or to build it. But what happened here was not only a failure, it was cruelty." She took a breath. "And cruelty has consequences." The auditorium erupted in murmurs. Mrs. Harding finally spoke, her voice trembling. I didn't mean—" "Intent does not erase impact," the superintendent said, stepping forward, "especially when the impact harms a child." Amara's mother stood up. Her eyes glistened with tears, but her voice was steady. "My daughter didn't deserve any of this," she said. "She comes to school to learn, not to be humiliated. No child deserves to be made to feel less because of their race or their background, or their clothing, or their books." Students applauded loudly. Mrs. Harding looked down, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Then came the moment no one expected. The superintendent turned to face the entire auditorium. "As of this morning, Mrs. Harding is officially removed from Riverside High," she announced. "She will no longer teach here." Gasps spread through the room. Some students cheered. Some simply nodded in agreement. Mrs. Harding stepped backward, stunned. She looked around, but no one defended her. Not even other teachers. She had lost the authority she abused, lost the respect she never deserved, lost the job she misused to hurt others. But the story wasn't just about punishment. It was about transformation. Principal Morgan turned to Amara. "Amara," she said warmly, "you showed grace. You showed courage. You showed what it means to stand tall even when you're knocked down." The entire auditorium rose to its feet. A standing ovation. Hundreds of students clapping. Teachers clapping, staff clapping. Not because she fought back with anger. Not because she shouted. Not because she retaliated. But because she endured. She survived. She spoke the truth by simply existing. Principal Morgan held up a gleaming plaque. "This is for you," she said. "The Student of Courage Award. Our school will give this every year. and you are its first recipient." Amara's hands shook as she accepted it. Her mother cried quietly beside her. For the first time in her life, Amara didn't feel invisible. She felt powerful, seen, valued. As the applause continued, a thought crossed her mind. Yesterday they humiliated her. Today they honored her. Tomorrow she would inspire many more. What happened next truly shocked everyone, because the quiet girl they ignored became the voice that changed an entire school.